Hello and welcome to the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and we'll be talking about the 1-0 victory over Norwich City on Saturday evening. It was, I suppose, 3 points in the bag. That's as much as can be said. I suppose we'll quickly review the game and talk about the implications for the rest of the season, the summer and next season, and everything that goes with it. Joining me today is regular Clive. You right, mate?
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
How was the bike ride?
Bike ride's good. I've got a bit of issue with power to weight. I've got a lot of power, but I've got a lot of weight. So I need to reduce the weight and up my average speed. So it weren't bad.
Drinking 8 pints doesn't help it, does it really?
It doesn't really help. I'm not on a diet, put it that way.
And also we got Woz from the blog. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, Giles. Thanks, mate. Cheers for having us.
No problem. Right, so let's kick off. Give me your opening statements as regards Saturday's game. So I'm going to go to you first, Woz, as you're the special guest.
Right. Well, pretty much for me, same old. I mean, similar pattern to this season. Started off slowly, struggled to break teams down, struggled through the gears, and it just seems a recurring theme this season. I mean, looking at our performances in the league, in only 4 of our 17 home league games have we had more than 2 shots on target in the first half. And it was like that again. Obviously, we had none on target. We struggled. We could have easily conceded 3 to Redmond alone in the first 45, and I just happy to get out of there with the 3 points, to be honest with you, mate.
Clive makes a good point. You know, they started off very confidently. We started off on the back foot. We were kind of, I don't know, I thought we were playing on the edge of fear, or there was a nervousness. There wasn't, you know, we weren't really sure about ourselves. And as was said, you know, if it weren't for Cech, I think he made 2 good saves in the first half from Redmond alone. It wasn't a pretty sight, was it?
No, it wasn't. And we were sitting together in the game, and within a minute, I said to you, Norwich are not scared of us, right? And that's a real indictment, really. They come to play us, right? So there was many recent times when teams come to Arsenal, they are afraid, right? They're afraid of what we're going to do technically. They're afraid of what we're going to do physically and pace-wise and intensity-wise. And at the moment, people know there's division in the club. There's divisions between the fans and the team, and we're a vulnerable, viable option to attack. And Norwich went straight at us, and only our goalkeeper and their sort of inefficient finishing maybe averted a real disaster on the day. Right? I'm not sure that home crowd could have taken going in 1-0 down to Norwich at half-time. So we started our normal stuff, our normal passing patterns, and round and round we go, round and round the horseshoe we go, you know what I always say. And at a moment, we always look for Alexis to beat the first man. If he doesn't beat the first man and we start passing, we just pass and pass and pass and pass. And we have a team of pass masters, right? So, and to quote Hugh, was on last week, we got a team of pass masters who pass responsibility to the next man, and we're not brave to really move people. So what do we get? We get 593 completed passes and 3 shots on target, and we walk away thinking, well, that was underwhelming, and that's how it felt.
You've spoken quite a lot about our shape, the formation, the way we play our wingers. You've talked about, you know, Wenger insisting time and time again on playing the inverted winger. He's changed it around again today. I mean, Saturday, we really struggled to break them down. We've had, I think I tweeted before the game that we had 1,158 passes in the box, you know, this season. Mesut Ozil's created 137 chances before the start of Saturday's game. We've only scored 58 goals. Ozil hasn't had an assist for God knows how long, and Giroud hasn't scored a goal for even longer. What do you think the problem is what I'm asking you.
Well, I think at the moment we're playing a system that doesn't suit really any of our personnel. in that system. And when you look at Olivier Giroud, he's a 6'4" centre forward, and he's almost, in a sense, being asked to run the channels, which isn't what I want my 6'4" centre forward doing. The lack of supply he's had from wide areas, from attacking players, from actual other forwards getting close to him, getting in around him, and delivering crosses. I mean, if you look at our actual highest cross makers, Mesut Ozil has put the third most crosses in the entire league this season, let alone the Arsenal team. And it's a similar pattern where, for instance, at the weekend, Iwobi and Sanchez's first thought is to come inside as more midfielders instead of being aggressive, and then it almost forces Mesut out of there, forces Giroud out of there, and we start to see a situation where we're moving the ball lots and lots without actually really doing anything. And I think until we start getting wingers to be in them areas where Bellerin and Monreal find themselves in time and time again, and don't get me wrong, they're fantastic fullbacks, but personally I'd rather see my fullback being a fullback and my winger being a winger, not worrying about how much my winger's going to defend and how often my fullback's going to get forward. And I just think if we're going to struggle if we continue with this personnel playing in that sort of vein, and it's really, really frustrating to watch. I mean, unless we score 4 goals on the last day of the season, which is possible against Aston Villa, this will be the lowest amount of goals ever at home in Arsene Wenger's reign. And that speaks volumes when you've got Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil in your team. So I think we really do need to start stretching the play again, or look at altering personnel to suit this style. But it seems to me like you just sort of got players there just for the sake of it, and they're just being asked to do jobs that they're not comfortable with.
Clive, do you want to respond to that? Have you got anything?
You talk a lot of sense there. Absolutely. I think we're cool. We're not maximising the players that we have in the system that we have. Everyone knows that Arsenal attack centrally, and Giles, I actually wanted just one signing last summer, and that was a winger. I wanted a boots on chalk winger, because when you have that, then you move the emphasis further forward. Everyone knows who they've got to get the ball to. I like to see 2 people on the touchlines, and that stretches these defences out. So it's 2 or 3 options you have with a bus defence, I call it, a barricade defence. You either stretch them wide, really wide, and I mean really wide. And I always look at Bayern Munich as a great model, right? I have a similar problem. They have the ball, but they always make sure they have 2 one-on-one dribblers wide, and they've got 2 one-on-one dribblers on the bench. And so the threat of the dribble means you've got to double up. Once you start doubling up, people can make third man runs. And they're running the gaps, and then that's what they do. They do diagonal crosses, little chips over the defence. They beat the men out wide, and they force people to double up. We don't have people who can beat men. We don't have dribblers. We're a team of passers. We don't command our duels. So we're caught. We have these lovely players, well-paid players with great names at the back of their shirts that we all love. And they're playing in a system that everyone knows how to stop. They're not super athletes. They're not super pacey. They're passers. And if the passing flow isn't there, we've got nowhere else to go, right? So a great point was everybody wants to come inside. That makes it easier to just have your fullbacks tucked next to centre-backs, have your wingers slightly further out, and you just bring them into a vortex, right? And then what you do is you spring. Watford did it to us. Everyone does it to us, right? Let's not be silly. And you spring, and you press, and if you feel as though you've got a chance to accelerate into our backline, you go. And if you don't, you fall back in. You don't even look at the ball. You just fall back into formation, because we're going to pass it around between Ramsey, El Neni and Mertesacker for 3 minutes. And we'll give you a chance to have a good old spit, wipe your forehead and get a deep breath, and they're coming for you soon. We make it so easy. And I think we don't have the system to fix the problem that we face probably 7 times over every 10 home games. And then you go back, people are probably thinking, well, what about Man United? What about that first 20 minutes against Man United? Well, Man United was so stupid. If you remember that game, from the first second of that game, even from before the ball was kicked off, they were on the front foot wanting to press us. You don't press Arsenal. You don't press us in our half, because that creates green grass. And we ran into that green grass. Before they knew what happened, they were 3-0 down. When they settled down, then the game became much more equal. If you press us, we're going to outpass you. We're going to out-technical you in the centre midfield. We're going to spring. If you sit deep, you've got a chance to spring against our non-running athletes, right? So, and that's the problem that we have. And I think football's become really measurable. I know Walter's probably got loads of stats in his head, so have I. We can measure everything. We can measure expected goals. We can measure chance, quality. We can measure everything. But I think we're losing something in the basics, which is winning your one-on-one duels. We don't have enough players in our team that are in charge of their duels. And I think once you start to get back to that, having those people that win their battles, win their duels, then I think we're going to start seeing an Arsenal team that I recognise.
You think that's the reason why teams like Leicester and Tottenham have done so well? Because they play in a way that is a very effective. Obviously, they've found a system that works for them. And you look at the certain key players and their players that can beat their man. You look at Jamie Vardy, and you don't want, as a defender, you don't want to go up against him. You don't want to play up too high. You don't want to play too high a line and leave all that green grass in behind you, because you know one ball over the top and that's you done. You've got someone like Mahrez that nobody likes to square up against. You've got in Tottenham's team, you've got the likes of what's his name, Kane up front. Shoot on sight policy. You've got Eriksen and all the other boys. And they all seem to fit into it. Both their head coaches have found a system that works for them. And it's pretty much the antidote to possession-dominated football, isn't it? I mean, Clive, in the pod that never was, you said that, teams have now found a way to counteract possession-dominated football. We looked at you cited Atletico Madrid's victory over Barcelona. You cited Leicester's very low stats rate in terms of pass percentage and whatnot, and you cited other examples. I mean, is that what we're seeing today? That teams are now found the antidote?
I think it's the way I look at it. Right, if you're a Premiership club and you're looking to stay in that league, you're looking at. You may not have the money or the attraction of name to get the world stars, to get the world talent into your club. But what you can do is you can make sure that your sports science department is really good and you've got really good athletes, right? And you can measure that, you can scout for that, and you can get good runners. And you can create a system or organisation which closes the gap. So what Leicester do, they defend their box. They let people go into wide areas. They've got two centre backs who are outstanding on the cross ball. So they give you the outsides. They give them to you, and they have four defenders that stay close, and they don't mind the pitch being big because they have unbelievable athletes in the centre of the pitch, runners if the pitch is big, and they've got a runner up high. So they're happy. So they let you play in areas that they're comfortable with. Right, so the same for Spurs. They don't like playing in areas they're not comfortable with. They don't like playing close to their goal. They don't want their fullbacks running backwards. They want running forwards. Right, so they create an emphasis which is much higher up. They let you have the ball and they turn over high and hunt in packs and shoot on sight. Bang crosses, bang shots. Right, that's what they do. It's not rocket science, right? But they have a system which is working for them. So for example, Spurs, if they lose it high up, what you've got to realise is you've got to go through 2 or 3 departments before you get to their goalkeeper. So no, it's no surprise that Spurs have conceded the least shots on goal of anybody else in the league because they don't play near their goal. It's really interesting watching West Brom Spurs the other day. West Brom had them running backwards and they didn't look so good. We had them running backwards with 10 men. They didn't look so good. So I'm not concerned. Everyone tells me Spurs are here to stay. Rubbish. There are smarter people out there than me who's going to work that out, right? And then they've got to find another plan, right? So I think we have just got to find a plan for us at home, and that's what we haven't done. And we need to start getting serious about a strategy and a system which suits the players we have. If we don't, then we change the players. It's as simple, right? So it's one of the two options, and I'm not sure. I'm really not sure how it's going to go, but it's been really obvious this year that we're not delivering on our talent, especially at home.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the opinion that Wenger hasn't extracted the most out of the best squad he's had in years. You've said it on numerous occasions, but in response to what Clive has said, or in addition to what Clive has said, do you think that Wenger or Arsenal has sort of like been shown up for not really adapting to today's football in terms of. He says that we've struggled against the lesser teams, and the lesser teams give us the ball. They're happy to give us the ball, and they're happy to break us. And we don't seem to have a plan to counteract that.
Very true. And I think a lot of these teams now play on our predictability, and they know that if they come to the Emirates and they're solid, and they sit there with 2 banks of 4 and an additional man sometimes and just leave one up, there's always going to be opportunity. There will always be a mistake made in the middle of the park, and we will lose possession. And the amount of times you've seen this season, I mean, I sit there and I pull my hair out because I can see it developing, and the fullbacks are so advanced. You can see they're too advanced. As soon as we lose possession, you could have 3 defensive midfielders and it wouldn't matter, because the opposition lone striker, all he does is pulls into the space that's been vacated by the advanced fullback. He's then
normally Bellerin.
Bellerin.
Into that right channel, we know what's there.
Channel, and that's also isolating Mertesacker, or that's also isolating Gabriel, who then goes out and has to be one-on-one against the killer, against the player who's going to do nothing but be aggressive, take his man on. And Per Mertesacker, for me, is one of the most intelligent centre-backs I've ever seen. But the geezer's 6'6" or whatever it is, you cannot leave him isolated. And it's the same pattern with the fullbacks too far up the pitch, and that's in a defensive area, but it also causes problems at the other end where we really, really do look toothless at times. And I think at home this season, especially in the league, I can only really remember once where a team sat in and we've made the change and stretched the game, and that was against the 10 men of Leicester, because although it was 10 men, it was still the same scenario. It's still 2 banks of 4. They were still in deep, but the difference is, and Theo Walcott in that game, for my eyes, made a big difference in the way that you said, Clive, that he had his boots on the touchline. He had chalk on them, and we was literally spreading the play from right to left, moving the ball, moving their players, waiting for the opportunity, getting deliveries in the box. And I think for the first time this season, I actually saw Alexis Sanchez and Nacho Monreal play as a partnership, because it seems to me they're just completely. They don't play the game together, despite both being on the same wing, and obviously he's gone to the right in recent weeks, but even on the right, he does not play as a partner with Bellerin. And it's okay having overlapping fullbacks if you're using your winger to play the 1-2 and get in the areas, but everyone just seems so disjointed, and it's a pain watching us, because we know that teams are going to come and sit in. You know that Palace, before they played us, had 4 points since Christmas or whatever. And you just knew at 1-0 we weren't safe. And you got the same feeling at the weekend, and you could dominate the game as much as you want, but we always allow ourselves to lose possession, centre-backs isolated, full-backs advanced, and you know at any time players can score. I mean, the Diego Costa, that incident, the red card, the same thing happened. Whether he had to make that challenge or not, it was the exact same thing. Even though... Yeah. Middle of the park, Flamini was too far off, the through ball was allowed, the full-back was advanced, Costa's in that space behind Bellerin, Per's left. What can he do? He's got to make a decision, whether it's a right or wrong one. He was forced into that by our lack of intelligence, and that's been the same scenario time and time and time again this season. And we just have not changed the way we played. It's almost as if Wenger's got his blueprint, that's what we're doing. End of 70th minute, I'll make a sub, whether I'm 1-0 down, 2-0 down, doesn't matter. This is what I'm doing, this is what I've decided for the game, and this is what's happening. And it gets painful at times, because you know the potential of this squad, you know what we've got. We've got world-class footballers in this team, and we're just not seeing the best of anyone. And Olivier Giroud, rightly so, he's been pony lately. Do you know what I mean? Nothing's sticking to him. It's just not happening for him. He don't look right. But I see the other day, if he had the same chance conversion rate as Harry Kane this season in the Premier League, he would still have only scored 16 goals. And that says a lot for the service he's actually getting in these goal-scoring opportunities. And a lot is made about Ozil's chance creation, which is fantastic, but it'd be interesting to see how many of them are clear-cut chances and what area of the pitch these chances are being created in, because I can't, for the life of me, remember the last time we delivered a brilliant cross from a winger to a centre-forward and actually scored. And the other week, Joel Campbell come on and Theo come on against Watford for that fourth goal. Campbell squared up his full-back on the left-footed winger on the left, beat his man, got to the byline, cut it back, Walcott coming in from the right, tapping. And it is that simple to break these sides down. But for me, I can't for the life of me understand why Arsenal is so against stretching the game, and whether it, I mean, I've got a little inkling that maybe it's got something to do with Baldy, but that's it's another debate. But I don't really know why we're not, especially against lesser teams. Really can't understand the approach.
I think we lack the right profile of players, right? So Joel Campbell came on, he did a little step over across it. How often do we do that? And
Never.
who else can do it? Who else can do it? So what we have is a plethora of number 10s. Number 10s that want to show personality to come and get the ball, bravery on the ball, nice triangles, triangle offense, pop, 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 pop. But when they got a man to face up, you know, Iwobi's not bad. He's got a bit of a step on him. I really like players like Oxlade-Chamberlain because of what he can do. He's not executing, and he hasn't done it as much. But he can burst his man. He can cause panic. And that profile of player, we cannot be selling him, right? So we've got lots of passes, and we don't threaten people, and they know it. A footballer knows immediately what another footballer's got. And as soon as he sees it, he reacts. And I call it how you can get people to play under stress. And in the first seconds when Welbeck came on Saturday, the first thing he did was spin short, spin in behind. Monreal chipped it to him. He's collected it. He's got his man one-on-one. He's gone, Bosh, you get off. You get off me. He's boshed him off, knocked it inside, sprinted into the box, and then we're in the game. And their eyes are wide. And all he's done, he's just completely controlled his man. And the moment the other defenders see that, they think, okay, he's a threat. I'm on my toes. Within 2 minutes, we scored. Right? It isn't hard. It's having the right profile of players in the right areas of the pitch. And that's what Leicester are doing. And that's what Spurs are doing. And Man City, Arsenal and Man United, through injury and maybe having too many players, are rotating, still searching for their best 11. Right? Still searching for their best system. And we're looking around and we're thinking, all they've done, Spurs and Leicester have been a bit lucky with injury. Spurs have had like one injury with Vertonghen, and that's it. And Wenger came in and done a great job for 2-3 months. Just started to creak, and Vertonghen came back. Leicester have lost hardly anybody. Right, it makes the least change of anybody in the league, and so they've just been consistent. And what have we done? We've made changes every game. We've got Ramsey on the right. We've got Ramsey in the middle. Alexis on the left. Alexis on the right. It works for a couple of weeks, and we break the partnerships up straight away. So we're searching. So we can't really. So the thing that Wenger based the season on was cohesion. And he's actually done the exact opposite by some of his selections. He has not given us any cohesion. Cohesion means passing at speed. We're not getting that. We're not getting one-on-one winning of duels. We're not getting excitement. And so the thing that he gambled on by not buying out full player and having continuity of the group has failed. All right, that has failed, and we're watching the failure of that now every week. In fact, only about 50,000 of us are watching the failure every week because the other 10 are at home watching Bargain Hunt, right? So, and that's the truth. So, because they know what's coming, right? So we're not being clever here, me and Woz. We're just trying to articulate what everyone's already seen.
Yeah, Clive, I'd just like to, sorry mate, I'll jump on that quickly, what you said about the profile of the player. I am of the opinion we have got a few players in our squad that can do the job like that. We're just not Wenger's not instructing them to do that, or they're not being allowed to do that. And for me, on the left, I know Alexis has performed much better since he's been on the right, but the previous season he was on the left, and if he mixed his game up and actually went on the outside, he could have any fullback in the world on toast. I mean, the geezer has got the ability to go past anyone, and he can get round, get to the byline. And I think on the other one, you talk about Oxlade-Chamberlain, he's a dribbling ability, but also he's another player who never ever retains the width. Now that, to me, I used to question whether it was the individual player. I think Ox is probably better in the middle of the park, but he has all the tools to be wide. But that
can be coached, can't it? That's just a simple coaching message to say, you stand there, hold your position. And when you get it, you're going to be isolated. I want you to drive your man. I don't care if you lose it on the first 3 dribbles, but you stand there. Don't move. He's just coaching.
Right? Sorry, mate. And another man, and this season he's had a woeful season, and rightly so, he's had a lot of stick. But for me, Theo Walcott, it's now been 49 appearances since he last started a game on the right wing. 49 games, and that is a fact. And this man was electric for 2.5 seasons on that right wing. And although he's not the best footballer, he's not the best dribbler, he frightens the life out of fullbacks. They don't know whether to get tight, stop deep. He can make a run in behind. Now, he won't run with the ball as much, but as soon as a fullback knows Ozil gets the ball and he looks to his right and Walcott's on that touchline running across him, it's danger. And if it's not Theo, you've got other options, but he's just an example of a kind of player you could have out there. But for him not to play 49 games in his position, for me, is mad. And that's just one player.
Can I just jump in really briefly on the Walcott thing?
Yes, Giles.
For me, Walcott's obviously a confidence man. His confidence is shot. He's not. But if we're playing, I don't think he suits our possession-based football because it's so laboured, it's so lethargic that teams just get into their into their blocks, they get into their set formation, and it kind of nullifies Theo's threat because if there's no space in behind, he's not going to beat a man. He's not got a trick up his sleeve. He's not going to square your man up. He's not. It's going to be very difficult. So I think to myself, position football, which means getting the ball up the other end of the field in as short a time, as little a time as possible. If you remember back in the days with the Vieiras and the Perez's and the Henry's, the way we used to counter from corner to goal was unbelievably quick. You're talking less than 15 seconds from clearing the corner to scoring the goal. And I think if you're going to play Theo, whether you play him up front in a 2 or wide on the right, I think you have to play quicker transition football. Not tippy-tappy, not horseshoe, not laboured, not, unimaginative, predictable. You have to be quick from goal mouth to goal mouth. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I'll just very quickly, I'd say that the way I look at Theo Walcott, he is a stats man. His goals and assists, he guarantees you, whether he's playing bad or he's playing well, the defenders know he's a danger in his position. On the left, there's no point. He's so predictable, he can't cut inside. Like Alexis has got the ability to go past people and whatever, but in saying that, against Man City, Theo cut inside a curled one, but that is one off. Do you know what I mean? That's one moment. And he's a killer. And I think we need more killers. We need to worry less, like Clive said a lot, and Giles, you touched on it. We're too tippy-tappy, and we need to make a decision. If we want tippy-tappy wide men, Walcott's pointless. I'd say Alexis has struggled trying to play that role. Again, we're really, really not seeing the best of any of our players. I don't know what you think, Clive, on the Theo position.
With Theo, right, and he's a strange player, right? So I think he's probably one of the best players in the world without the ball. Yeah. His off the ball movement is stunning, right? And I think he's comfortable in his body shape on the right hand side. I think he's used to that out to in run on the right. He's used to it, and he knows how to finish in those areas. And he's got a wonderful cross in him, actually. Right? He's got a great, powerful cross, and he really bangs it. But that's good Theo, right? And when we all get hooked up in it, it's like, it's like that girlfriend that always cheats on you, right? But when you see her in a nightclub and she's got the gear on, you think, oh wow, you forget about the Old Trafford. You forget about that, and that really hurts me that day, right? Because that was his moment. The manager trusted him. I know he didn't trust him on the right, but that was his moment. And we're playing Man City at the weekend, and City need to beat us. Is there a better player in your mind to have when City are going to push on to us than Theo Walcott? But can we trust him? We're just not sure anymore, right? So by rights, we should be going to City. If I was a manager, trust me, I'd be going to City with Welbeck, Sanchez and Walcott up front. But I can't trust Walcott. So you know what? Giroud may play, right? Just to keep the centre-halves happy and keep them challenged, and we go down the sides, right? But what Wenger will probably do is play an extra midfielder, which immediately puts City on the front foot, knowing we can't run in behind them. They're going to press us hard. And we're going to be playing horseshoe football, and we're looking at Giroud thinking, you've not got it. Well, if we put Giroud on the market, I've seen that 2 clubs want to buy him straight away, Wolfsburg and Juventus. He's not an idiot. He's just not being utilised correctly, as you said earlier, and he's not the only one. He's not the only one.
At this moment, I want to bring in another guest, a late starter. It's Amanda. How you doing, Amanda? You all right?
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. You've got Clive and Was here as well. Amanda, we were talking about the use of our players in terms of, as you just heard, Theo Walcott, how we get the best out of him. Do you think Wenger's misusing him in terms of where he plays him, how he plays him, or do you think that Theo's just a lost cause?
Who?
Theo.
The latter, unfortunately. I think I just don't know what's going on with him. I really don't understand. Surely he would want to be fighting for his place. Surely him in front of Ozil would have been like a dream pairing, wouldn't it? That's what we were all waiting for. Ozil needs pace. Theo's got pace. I don't know what's going on. And obviously I've just come into the conversations. I'm not sure what anyone else has said. But for me, he's getting worse every game. It doesn't help that some of the fans are on his back constantly, especially lower tiers, and I'm sure he can hear that. But he has got to raise his game. He's either off in the summer and he's already gone to the beach, or he's just not good enough.
What do you reckon, Clive? Do you think his time has come? Do you think this time? Because Wenger was very non-committal about him last week, and that's the first time for me. It's the first time that I've heard. Usually he's right behind, he backs Walcott, backs him all the way. But last week he was kind of, he wasn't so.
He didn't really back him, but no. I almost don't want to get hung up on him, right? Because it's we could have a discussion about how we use Ramsey, about how we use Giroud, about how we don't give us all the tools, and it comes back to getting the most from the system and getting the most from the players that we have. And if you're a manager, and I really do think that's your responsibility to look at how other teams face us and to try to solve the problem, right? To try to solve it in a technical way. I don't think it's correct to keep playing the same way and allowing teams to really nullify you, right? So, and normally when you sort of talk about, when you talk about this, you think, oh, well, what does he know? What does he know? Well, you know what? The numbers are there, right? We're just not scoring the goals. So, I'm not sure if it's conversion. I just actually think it's chance quality. If there was a stat for nearly opportunities, we must be number one in the charts for that, right? So we know what I'm talking about. The nearly last pass, the nearly pre-assist, we have got to be number one in that stat, right? So because there's so many nearly opportunities before the last pass, before the goal, that we just don't execute. Or if I could choose to change one thing this year, it would be the inefficiency, because goals mask a lot of sins, and you score at the right time and everything looks different. Everything looks beautiful, and that's what we used to do. We used to score at the right times, and it used to mask all the issues in our team, right? So we're not scoring now, so we're looking at every single player, every single aspect of the club, because people around us are everyone looks different on the other side of the fence, and they seem to be doing a bit better. But really, the gaps are not huge. It's just down to our inefficiency, and I feel a lack of application from the management to get the most out of the players and adapt the system to the players that we have.
Clive, can I just ask you a question?
Of course you can.
Hello, Clive. I want to know something. Why doesn't he? I don't feel he does change it for certain teams, and I don't feel he does get the best out of the players. So I don't understand why. I mean, he's an intelligent man. He must know Arsenal inside out. He's paid £8 million a year. Think about that, 8 million, right, of our money to look at each game separately and, differently to the last. Yet I feel like we're watching the same team and the same tactics every single game. Am I wrong, or?
No, I think we touched on it a little bit before you came on. Only a little bit. I think we school what I call midfielders. We school like number 10s. And I think he likes number 10s. I don't know if you remember way back. I'm sure you do, right? When Alex Kleb came along, Rosicky, Fabregas, they were 3 number 10s really, weren't they, playing together, right? And you put Van Persie in there. He was number 10 that we really, made a number 9.5. So he likes number 10 football. He's moved away from what I call the devastation, the speed of an Overmars, an Elka, an Henry. He's moved away from that, and I like devastation. I like speed. We all watch football for our own structures, our own interpretation. And my favourite players, Patrick Vieira. I love the way he used to win his duels, and not just his, but the ones next to him as well. He was 2 players in one. I love the way Henry used to kill his man on stop and start him. I like that. And I look at this team today. I don't think we're in charge of our opponent. So what we do is we try to have technical authority, and that's being nullified by defensive organisation and the physicality and speed of the opposition. West Ham are faster than us. Leicester are just as powerful and faster than us. There are many other teams that are fast. Tottenham are faster than us. They're fitter than us. I don't like saying it, but it's the truth, right? They run more than us. Bournemouth run more than anybody. So it's not happening. We have to adjust. You can't just do it now by passing the ball around nicely off the back foot. It won't work. Players are being challenged. They're being challenged technically. They're being challenged with intensity. They're being challenged physically. And we have to fight that and earn the right to play. And we're being challenged organisationally. And we haven't got the profile of players to really stretch and move people around. And it was really, I said it again, Danny Welbeck highlighted it for me when he came on. That's exactly the type of player that was required for these teams. And he delivered, right? So that's my view.
Absolutely. Sorry, man, I just want to say that I absolutely 100% agree with the fact that you have to earn the right to play football. We hear that thrown around quite a lot, but I think Clive broke it down fantastically there. I think we have the technical players, but for too long, we haven't earned the right to play our football. And you earn the right to play your football by standing up to your man, looking him eye to eye and saying to him, I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to be challenged. I'm going to go with you toe-to-toe, and when I win your respect, then I'll show you what we can do on the ball. And I don't think we have that enough. We used to have it. Wenger used to buy them by the bucket loads, but he's sort of changed to this Barcelona-like diminutivo football when he seems to be stuck in the gear.
Yeah. But I want to know something else as well, though, right? How comes we can all see it? Everyone you talk to, wherever I go, if it's Twitter or if it's Facebook or if it's work, social, every Arsenal fan I meet, forget the Wenger in and Wenger out rubbish. Everyone has a different opinion on that, but they don't have the different opinion on what we've just said. So why is it that a little housewife from Essex like me, who's never been a football coach, manager in her life, has been going to football for 40 years, has never coached anyone, can see this, and he can't? It's beyond me. That's the question I want answered.
I think he can. And it's really interesting. I think what we underestimate in football is the pressure and the stress, right? And for us, it's a relief. It's meant to be something where we can be a little bit deluded for a couple of hours, have a few drinks on a Saturday. But for them, it is life, it is pressure, it is jobs, it is finance. And it's quite interesting on Saturday as the subs were warming up. And the instant, we had Wilshere warming up and Walcott warming up, and they were going to come on. There would have been 3 subs, but basically Gabriel Mertesacker done his hamstring, so that was 1 sub wasted. And the moment the goal went in, within 1.2 seconds, Coquelin stood up and started warming up. Dinny G stood up immediately, and that tells you.
Yep, he did. Yep.
If we got the second goal, I think we'd have had a forward, or Wilshere would have come on, but we didn't get the second goal, so Coquelin came on. So there's a lot of fear, and those results really mean something. And then when you look back at the weekend and look what United did and what City did, that result was huge for the club on Saturday. Absolutely huge. It more or less guarantees top 4 because we're going to beat Villa. And it was huge, and that's where they are. Because that is 30-40 million pounds, that game. So there's fear around it. And maybe fear is driving some of the safety first selections, right? The extra midfielder for security and ball possession. You won't lose if you have the ball. By putting another forward on there, maybe he might turn it over, and then we're going to be light and we're coming back from 1-0 down. That's how they think. play Giroud, set piece defence, near post heading it away. That kills their chance of scoring. That's how management think, right? So it's tough, but it's tough to say that he doesn't think it through. I think he does. I just think he's got it a little bit wrong this year with the balance of player in the squad.
Yeah,
Go on,
mate.
Go on, Woz.
I will stop interrupting, as long as I've just come on. When you say this year, it's every year. What, the last 3 years has been like Groundhog season.
I don't want to go into that.
I'd say basically I agree with both of your points regarding Arsenal and the situation. But for me, at the start of the 13-14 season, when you see Mesut Ozil come into the football club and you think, right, that's it. The weight's off. We can buy players now. We can compete. We've just signed the best number 10 in the world. You go out, you win the FA Cup. Aaron Ramsey scores 17 goals from central midfield. We play swashbuckling football. It didn't quite happen in the league, but you look at it and you think, yeah, we're on the up. Then the next summer, you go out, Alexis Sanchez comes in. You think, wow, we really are moving on now. Same thing happens. Get the FA Cup victory, but nothing really happens in the Premier League. Again, Champions League, poor season in the Champions League. Nothing happens in Europe. So finally this summer you think, well, you go out, Petr Cech, and then you're the only club in the entire top 5 leagues in Europe not sign an outfield player. I can't understand that. And for me, Arsenal's built this squad, and he's built a fantastic squad. And we've got to the stage now where all of these players are hitting the peak years of their career. They're all 27, 28. The centre-backs are nearly 30, in their 30s. This now should be the pinnacle of everything he's created. And this season, he just sort of hasn't known how to manage it. It's like buying the nicest car you could ever have in the world and just not knowing how to drive it. And that's the thing that has frustrated me the most this season, because I really do look at the squad, man for man, in backup positions and in the first team, and think, yeah, we should be winning this title, regardless of what anyone else does. And the struggle is, over the last few seasons, we've improved with personnel, but we haven't actually improved as a footballing side. And I think this season we've gone backwards more than ever. And it's sad to see.
You know what was? I think those 2 FA Cups have raised our expectations. We've come out of that austerity period, and we've got more money than we've ever had. We've got loads of cash reserves, and everyone's thinking, right now, okay, Ozil, Sanchez, Cech, you're raising our expectations. It's not, and unfortunately, it's just not help. It just hasn't happened, and I don't think we've got a divine right to win the title. But I think every fan should expect from this club to go out and really put in a challenge. And we haven't done it. This is the 3rd year that I think it's the 3rd time that we've hit the turn of the year, head of the table, and we've slipped away again before April. Right. I don't care what anybody says about mathematics. We slipped out of that in March, end of February.
We slipped out in January at Anfield. That's exactly when I thought. Can I just go back to something Warren said? Warren, you said man for man we should be winning the league. Man for man, are you talking about Giroud here? Because that's not the case. He needed a striker. The DM, I liked El Neni the first day I saw him in the Cup when he played, and lots of people criticising him. If he'd have been 50 million, they'd have all raved. I don't work like that. I really, really liked him. And that was something, shame we didn't buy him at the beginning of the season. But Giroud, man for man, you think we could win the league?
Well, I personally am of the belief that Olivier Giroud is maybe a limited striker, but he's a striker that we have not played to any of his strengths, and it's not helped anyone. And obviously, everyone would love a Sergio Aguero or a world like Karim Benzema or someone in, and I agree with you. I want another centre forward, but I still believe with this squad, Olivier Giroud would have scored enough goals for us to win the Premier League title. He's got 20 plus this season, and he hasn't scored in God knows how many games. We don't supply the man, and I think in the Euros, you'll see him go out for France as their number 1 centre forward, and he'll be the nuts. He'll be the dog's danglies, and we'll think, why ain't he like that here?
Well, so then obviously, I'm not sure but I absolutely adore Ozil.
Yep.
I love him.
Me
I'm not
too.
going to go into that. But then, obviously, he can't play with Giroud, can he?
Well, Olivier Giroud, 8 of his goals have been assisted by Mesut Ozil, and he's the one delivering the crosses because...
8. The whole season, 8.
Yeah, but if what I'm saying is I agree that we need pace, but I think we need pace in the right areas, and I think we haven't had no width and no pace from wide areas and it makes things really stagnant for us. And I know, Clive, you touched on that as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I mean, me and Giles have been debating this for ages, right? About wide men. And if you're centre back and you've got Giroud, and you can go 2-on-1, that's what teams are doing. I heard Tim Stillman talk about this, actually, make a great point.
Yeah.
What teams are doing, they're going 2 centre backs against Giroud, and they're banging into him, knowing he's going to get frustrated. He gets frustrated, then he gets on the referee's back. As soon as he does that, he's not getting another foul. Right? Because all they do is think, oh, look at that arrogant Frenchman. He can't take it. He don't like it up him. So I'll tell you what, he's going to have to beg for a foul. He'll have to get his head chopped off or I give him a foul. Right? So, and so if you had real pace out wide, what that does to your centre-backs, it says, okay, we can't really go touch tight on Giroud. Because if my fullback gets done in behind, I've got to go and cover around. Right, so people got to understand, if you're going to be a possession team and have the ball, you've got to create space in wide areas. You just have to. Right, so, and what we do, we have the ball, but we put number 10s out wide or second forwards out wide. And all they do is invert, come inside and crowd the situation. Right, so you look at Mesut Ozil, he's going deep to get the ball, he's trying everything, because he's just going where everybody else isn't. Because he's smart, right? So he's thinking, well, I can't stay in here. You know, I can't do that. Sometimes he goes number 9 because there's more space further up, right? So, and he's just thinking, I've got to get on the ball somehow, because his whole psychology is, how many touches can I get? How can I construct this attack, right? So we need to add the profile of players and coach them properly. And I keep using Bayern Munich as an example. They've got 4 wide men that chalk on boots. They've got the same problem as us. Every team that comes to them at home blocks off, barricades, puts the bus in. And that's how they get around it. They go wide, they come inside, shoot hard, they put crosses in, and they do diagonals over top of defence to third-man runners who run into the box. That's how you beat it, right? So that strategy, you just got to look at a few videos to work it out. I watch them all the time.
Yeah, but Clive, who should be doing all that with the team?
The £8 million a year guy, but I don't get that money. But I do watch football because I'm a geek, right? So,
there's my point. Thank you.
Yeah, I think, Amanda. I think, you know what? I think it's. We're all of the opinion that Giroud isn't good enough, not at the elite level. But
shall we say? He's not. He should maybe not good enough to be our number 1 centre forward.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not good enough to be at the club.
It's
I just don't
great
think
option.
Great option.
Yeah,
I think.
I was going to say that.
Exactly. There's an impact option.
I think he's fantastic off the bench in the last 20 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, or for a certain kind of game. He's a great wall player, isn't he? That's what you were saying last week. He's a great wall player. But what I want to say is, when you look at the numbers, when you look at the chance creation and whatnot, we've got 1,158 passes in the box this season, right? That tells me that we're just tippy-tappy. We're faffing about.
Yeah.
And that means that the defenses and the goalkeeper know exactly where if they stand in a certain place, we're not going to get around them. They'll block the shot. The shot quality won't be great. The chance, the pre-assist or whatever won't be as you want it. So I think, what I'm trying to say is I would regularly scapegoat Giroud. But now, as a consumer of stats and data, now I'm beginning to see a slightly different picture. It's not 100% perfect, but I think I'm beginning to see a slightly different picture. And I don't think the way we're servicing him, as Woz has said and as Clive has touched on, I don't think the way we're servicing him is the best, is getting the best out of him.
Yeah.
I don't think we needed stats to know that we're ticky-tacky, do you? The whole ground, every 5 seconds, is going, shoot. It's ridiculous. I mean, half the time it is ridiculous and they haven't got a chance to do that. But, you know, when we do actually shoot, we sometimes do actually score, funny enough.
I think football is becoming, pretty advanced, right? So I think our defensive strategies that we first saw Mourinho do in the new camp with Inter Milan and done it with Chelsea, etc., what Chelsea did to them, basically teams have copied it, right? So if you get a young player that's a centre forward who's a special athlete, what academies and what teams are doing, they're actually putting their most special athletes in defence. because if you can keep clean sheets, you've got a chance of winning games, right? So I do believe that football is becoming more of what I call a special game for special people, right? Where inches really count. And when you see the pitch, or you see the narrowness of the pitch, the narrowness that we play, we are talking inches really matter. And you've got to be a special human being to create the space, to create the one-on-ones that you need, to create the overloads, to really get in. And we need to have those players. And I'm telling you, we've got a few plodders. We've got a few flickers. We've got a few nicey pass sideways players. And I don't want to carry them no more. I really don't. I want to see that change. I want to see much more dynamism and devastation and ability to cover my centre midfield. And watching El Nene has been an absolute pleasure to watch his absolute work and effort to create an angle for a 2-yard pass, to pop off and go again the other side, to be available. He's making all his defenders look better. They're not losing the ball because he's always there. And then he doesn't just stand there and think, that's enough for me, I'll stand behind the ball. He goes again, and I'm looking at him thinking, man, if you're playing like I would love to play if I was on that pitch, you're making every second count. And then we were talking about Theo Walcott earlier, and my biggest criticism of him is, you're at Arsenal. You've been here for 10 years, and you're played for England. You've got it all, mate. You're unbelievably quick, and you let games pass you by all of the time. And I think it's unforgivable, right? And he needs to sort that out.
Okay, so let's look forward to the rest of the season. Do you think now we're safe in the top 4? Do you think we should be? Do you think? With our victory, and I think, did City lose? City lost, didn't it, against Southampton? Do you think we're now, you'd back us to get third,
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the Villa at home game should be a formality, but the way we've been, nothing's a formality, and to be honest with you, we've got a small matter of a game at City next week as well. Yeah, I mean, Villa's relegation party is one thing, but we've literally have got to go to the Etihad, and if Chelsea can do Spurs tonight, which isn't unthinkable, they've got a horrific record there. The title's pretty much gone, and it could go tonight. They've got Southampton at home next, and they are Spursy. They've got their best team they've ever had, but they are Spursy, and they have got it in their locker to bottle it. And if we get a point, or give ourselves a chance, they're going to Newcastle on the last day of the season, knowing that Newcastle are going to need to probably win, stay up, and if they don't, we're going to take over them. And that would be, despite this being the worst season I think I could ever think of, just because of how frustrating it's been and how we haven't fulfilled our potential, for them to think they're winning a league 2 weeks before and then finishing below us 2 weeks later, I mean, I'd piss my pants, to be honest with you, mate.
It would be interesting because, of course, now Spurs have taken over us and we're just that little small club down the road.
Yeah, power shift.
So, but yeah, Spurs are interesting. They're good, and yeah, it's been great for them. But trust me, I'm not sold. I'm not sold on it sustaining. That's all. They've got a system. They've got a strategy, and it's really good to see. But let me tell you, West Brom showed it up, and we showed it up in the away game, and other people work it out really quickly. As for us, you know what? No guarantees, but it's just like Arsenal. We just go straight to. Go to Man City and put in an Everton away type performance, and we all start going, I can't believe it. Do you know what I mean? And we can end up finishing second, and we've been moaning half the year, right? So, well, let's see what happens, right? You can't be sure with them.
It would be the funniest end to the season if we get second. Would it not be the funniest thing? I mean, first of all, if they would have won it, I'd have had to emigrate. Second of all, if they go above us, they might have to emigrate just slightly for a little bit. But if we go above them, or most of my mates are Tottenham, it would just be the funniest thing. I mean, do I think it's possible? I'm sort of with Warren on this. I'm not sure about tonight. I think it could be a draw tonight, which isn't good enough for us because then they go 3 points clear, don't they, of us? Their goal difference is far superior to ours as well.
I think Spurs might do it tonight, actually.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to lose. I've just got this horrible feeling that Chelsea, the one club you'd want them to go to, or two clubs, would be West Ham or Chelsea because they can't stand them. You don't know what team, you don't know what side Chelsea are going to turn up, do you? I don't know. I mean, I think obviously for us it all falls down to the Etihad on Sunday. But Warren's right. I mean, seriously, anyone else playing Aston Villa at the moment, 4-5-0. I took my son on Saturday. He goes once a year. He's not into football at all. He said, "Who are we playing?" I said, "Norwich." He went, "We should beat them easily." I went, "Jack, you've got so much to learn about our club. Every other club wouldn't have an issue, but I can't call it at the moment. We're either, seriously, it's going to be second, third, or fourth, isn't it? Really."
The reason why I asked whether you guys are confident about getting anywhere other than better than fourth is, I worry that if we finish fourth, and God forbid, Man City finish outside the top four, and then they go on to win the Champions League, and Liverpool go on to win the Europa League, therefore kicking us out of the Champions League. If we finish fourth, I worry that Wenger's going to come out of that line, can't make any signings until we qualify for the Champions League proper, by which time most of our potential targets have gone to pastures new or signed new deals. That's why I think it is imperative. The players have looked like they've switched off. They've gone on holiday. They've gone to e-bookers. They've gone to flight checker. You know what I mean? And they've got their holidays booked. You know what I mean? And I'm worried. I really am worried about fourth. For me, I don't want fourth because I don't want us to have one of those traumatic summers again where we're worrying about Wenger doing it at the last minute. We've seen it too many times. What do you reckon, Clive?
Yeah, well, you know what? We can't. It could easily happen, right? We've got the other situation of the Euros, so the players have been on holidays. We can't get hold of them because they're on holidays, and they come back. We can't really sign them because we've got the fourth place playoff to play for. And then, of course, we're scrapping around in the last few days of the window. That could happen, or we could just go and buy people. But you know what? It's impossible to predict, right? We're probably going to end up finishing third, and what will happen is Wenger will come out and say, you know what, I believe in these players and I add one or two. And he'll just go and he's got to get rid of about 3 or 4. He'll promote a couple of youngsters and he'll add 1 or 2 and off we go again.
Clive, I'd just say, Giles, I'll just jump in there, mate. One big question that I'd ask for the summer is, with the uncertainty surrounding Arsene Wenger, I mean, I think we're all pretty much of the opinion that he's definitely going to be here next season regardless. I look at this situation and in the summer, if you're a top player at a top club, and Arsene Wenger's got 1 year left on his deal, and there's a possibility he's going to leave the club at the end of that season, why would you commit your future, your long-term future, to a football club that you don't know where they're going to be in a year's time? There might be a plan in the background, but are we aware of it? Are any of the players aware of it? I mean, if you're playing...
Warren...
Yeah.
Sorry, go on. No, I agree with you. But what I was going to say is Ferguson was clever when he did it because he signed Van Persie. No one knew he was going to go, and then he goes 1 season later. And you're right.
I think with Ferguson, wasn't he told to basically medically retire, that his hip's gone?
No. But my point is, no. He knew he was going. He's very like Wenger, isn't he? He knew, but his plan was to get the best player at the club without this being advertised as such. And Warren's right. I've not thought about that actually, because I've not thought about the transfer window, because I never do. But he's right, because if a player's going to look at, for a start, the banners, the toxification of fans, how it's perceived we're treating our manager, who for 20 years has brought us wonderful football. Would you want to come to Arsenal knowing there's an upheaval possibly in the next 18 months? You're right, Warren. I never even thought of that.
You know what trumps all that? That could trump possibly... Do you know what could possibly trump all that? Putting down the money. Because one thing that players want is financial security.
Yeah. Or a 3-year deal.
Exactly. Financial security.
Yeah, but a lot of players, though, Giles, do come to Arsenal because of Wenger. I know the money. Of course it's money. But there is that point. We're not horrific players. We're not the worst in the league. We're not unattractive. And we haven't been because we've got Sanchez and Ozil. Please God, they still stay next year. But he's right, there would be so much that a player would look at. And then if you go across to the white side of North London, who possibly are going to end up second, okay, possibly. I've got a young manager who's just committed 5 years, I think. The team is on the up. And they're in Champions League. What difference is there between us and them anymore? Where before, The new stadium, so I was going to come to that bit. That was the last part. They're going to be, unfortunately, like us in a season or two.
Attractive. They are looking
that's what I'm trying to say. So where before Arsenal would always be the top club in London to go to, apart from Chelsea because of the money, it would have been us. It's not going to be us. So this is where Arsenal got to be very, very clear, very, very sensible soon. They either announce, I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is I think that players, we're not as attractive as we used to be. That's what I'm trying to say.
Clive, you sat there pretty quietly.
Yeah.
Everybody.
He loves me, Clive.
Yeah, I just think, we're forgetting West Ham, right? West Ham are there. They're there right now. And but I've always felt that Arsenal should be more attractive than they actually seem to be. And I think Arsenal has long been almost like a little bit of a closed shop. You don't see the turnover of players. Agents find Arsenal a nightmare to deal with. Right? There's a certain arrogance about how we do our transfer dealings. Right? So we're almost seen as a separate club within the league. Right? We don't generally buy too many players from within the league. Right? Unless they're youngsters. Right? So when was the last time we did a Sol Campbell? Could you imagine us doing a Sol Campbell now? Well, the Spurs captain wouldn't want to come to Arsenal now because that gap has closed. Right? So when do we go and tap somebody on the shoulder and take their captain away from them? We don't anymore, right? So I think I often call Arsenal a sleeping giant. I don't think even the club are aware of how big this club would be if we were to win the league. I think it would just explode into something that even we don't recognise. And I just think we're not quite recognising the global breadth of the club. It's huge. And I've got to start really establishing that and building on the platform that Wenger gave us. And what we're doing is we're tippy-tapping around it, right? We're not building on this platform. And while we are, I don't want to use the word, but stale, other teams are closing the gap. And we're going to go and watch, Leicester probably win the league this weekend, and West Ham move to a new stadium, and Spurs 3 years away from their stadium. And
Can I ask you, Clive?
Yes, mate.
Can I ask you, Clive? Is that a consequence of not having a football man upstairs?
I really don't.
Do you think it's part of the reason? I mean, because if you had a football man upstairs and they understand the actual how big Arsenal could be if we won trophies. Because right now we've got a lot of sound businessmen upstairs, that know the value of the pound and the value of of getting commercial deals, whatever. Who is that? Sorry, I can hear so much scratching around. But we don't have a man in that room that's advising the board members. Look. If we win titles, if we win trophies, if we go out there and try and challenge for the big trophies, we'll be one of the most attractive clubs on the market. Agents will be falling over their feet to come to us with their players.
Yeah, I think
I'm not saying we should go back to Dean, because Dean was a period of place and time that has gone. That has we've moved on from there, but we do lack somebody there that has the sporting interest of the club at heart, I think.
Well, we haven't had that person there for many, many years, have we, really? We haven't really had that sporting director that actually thinks that the most important job in the world is to have the right team on the pitch. The most important aspect of Arsenal has recently been revenues and recently been making sure we can pay back the stadium, and it's all been about the global brand of the club. The global brand is the most important thing, and how we play football, right? So, and we don't actually really focus obsessively and desperately on having right players in the squad to win the league. What we do is we try to compete at the top end of the European game and the top end of the league game in England, and we hope to win trophies. But there isn't the desperation, there isn't the expectation from within the club And that's why there's not enough accountability from within the club, and we get accused of being comfortable. Right, so there was a criticism actually. It's a little snipe from Paul Scholes. He was criticising Manchester United and their fallow season, and he just sort of said, "I don't want us to end up like Arsenal where we don't have to win." And I thought that's exactly how I feel. But that really hurt me. That cut me. That did, because that's how we're perceived. Arsenal just tick along till it counts. When the pressure comes on board, we fall away. I don't think that's to do with having a football man on the board. I think it's a mentality issue. I think we've got to reset our mindset massively. Can we do it with the same leadership in charge? I'm not sure. But that's the number one thing I want to see before we add any players to this group.
Indeed, quite.
I love Clive's diplomacy. I think I need to take diplomatic lessons from you, Clive.
He's one of the villain now, Clive. He's one of the
you got to see me when I've had a drink. Maybe I'm not so diplomatic.
Right, I think we'll wrap it up there. It's been over an hour's worth of chat there. I want to thank everyone for coming on. Warren, thanks for coming on, sir.
Cheers for having me, mate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Amanda, yourself, thanks for jumping in for us today.
Sorry for the background noise.
Yeah, you will be.
Sorry. I didn't realise I wasn't plugged in. Sorry.
Oh, my God. And obviously, my man Clive, as usual, thanks for coming in today and imparting your wisdom.
Thank you very much.
That has been a Gooner Ramble podcast. Catch us on all the platforms. Subscribe, rate, review. So, it helps us so much. You can hear the other podcasts about the protests with FK and Mark. That's also coming out simultaneously to this. So all I've got to say, my name's been Giles. This is the Gooner Ramble podcast. Up the Arsenal.